and in 2005, he moved to Arizona. He has been a guest on Conscious Speaks radio podcast with host Kellie J. Wright, and right here on Pyramid One Radio with myself and Jamie Clark. In 2019, he completed Transformational Journeys with Kellie J. Wright, which forever has altered his life. I had no intention of ever writing any spiritual book following my journeys, but the Spirit told me otherwise. His 3 Spirit-led books, My in 90-Day Transformation and in 8 Journeys with Kellie J. Wright, Life After My Transformational Journeys, and Life Before My Transformational Journeys, they were all polished, or should I say published, in 2021 and are available. They're available right now. You can go right now and get a copy of this at Amazon.com. In 2022, at the continued urging of Spirit, he began to voice the Mystic Spirit podcast on Facebook. And today, right now, he's with us for a live version of the same podcast. Of course, I am speaking about no other than J.K. Miliken. Put your hands together. Let's welcome him to Pyramid One World Radio. Oh yeah, there he is. He's taking his stuff off mute, and we're going to hear him in like 2 seconds. Now, everybody, hey.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
We are doing so cool. It isn't funny. It's like, whoa. Oh yeah, well, good old Skype. You know, we for those of you that want to hear the music and everything else from the very couple of first seconds in the show. Sorry, but I do have it on audio, so there's no problem with that.
Okay, Bob. So today we're actually going to be talking about death, or actually a form of death, childhood bullying, and grief. And before we show how all those are connected with one another, we'll listen to a video that Bob has about bullying from the Surgeon General's office.
I got you. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Keep going. Oh, you want me to put on the video now?
Yeah, go ahead and play the video.
Worthy, and I want to take a minute to talk about bullying. Bullying is all too common. About 1 in 5 high school students reported being bullied at school, and about 1 in 6 reported being bullied electronically in the past year. Bullying is harmful to the mental health of all involved. Young people who are bullied are more likely to feel lonely and want to avoid school. They are more likely to have symptoms of depression, which could contribute to their risk for suicide. Young people who bully others and those who witness bullying can also experience negative mental health effects, such as suicidal thoughts and increased anxiety and depression. To any young person out there who is being bullied, I want you to know that you deserve to be treated kindly and that you are valuable and loved. Your feelings are 100% valid, and you are not alone. I urge you to talk to someone you trust, such as a guidance counselor, teacher, sibling, or friend, about what you're going through. To parents and caregivers, please check in on your children. If they seem withdrawn, depressed, or anxious, if they avoid activities they used to enjoy, or if they exhibit bullying behavior themselves, these may be signs that your child is experiencing bullying. Feeling connected to people at school and at home can reduce young people's risk of experiencing negative health outcomes such as substance use, violence, and mental health struggles. Just knowing that you are there could make a world of difference. With love, support, and attention, we can prevent bullying and protect our children's well-being.
And that was from the Office of the Surgical General Physician for the United States. And let me tell you, you know what? When I first heard that, I said to myself, you know how many moms should hear that? Seriously, I mean, it expands what you've already thought about not only your own kids but other kids. You know, you can tap another mom on the shoulder and say, you know, does he need a little help or something? I'm serious. I mean, our kids would be a lot better off. I mean, when I was a kid. Now, of course, you have to go to the ancient history side of the library to find a book on that. But you know, when I was a kid, the first thing one mom would always do is see something that wasn't right, and the first thing they do is call them up on the phone. That's when we had phones, when they weren't party lines. But you call them up and you say, "Hey, you know what? I seen your kid this and that and the other thing." So I'm serious. I saw this happen in real time, and kids, us kids, we were watched all the time. Somebody always had a finger on us somewhere. And that's how we all, I mean, everybody was, we had, let me see, there was 820 kids in my class, not in one classroom, but in the school system, because we were the kids that were born right after World War II. So we were that generation. And I mean, everybody had a kid. I mean, you know, it was like, you know, there was a run on yeah, well, baby carriages. But you know, as far as I knew at that time, very, 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 very few of any of those kids had problems. The one thing that the mother and father always used to do was the mother would say, "When your father gets home," and the other thing the father would say would be he'd take off his belt and he'd snap it. And I'm telling you, you watched your whole life go by right in front of your face when that happened. But it wasn't fear because it was love. But you never wanted to disappoint the people that were above you, like your teacher, the principal of the school, the bus driver. You know, the bus driver, forget about it, man. When we had cupcakes and everything else in school, this woman had more. So no wonder she was so fat. I mean, everybody on the bus would give her a cupcake. So I mean, you know, this was just things that happened then. Now it's a different world. Totally. I mean, seriously. I mean, I sit down once in a while. You know what time I get up? I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm reading or doing whatever I'm doing. But one morning, I actually sat and I guess you would call it meditation, but I'm a pretty bad meditator. I mean, really bad. But the idea of the thing was that I thought about what not at the time I didn't knew nothing about the show coming on being this particular show, but it was the things that I went through in my childhood and with my sister and everything else. My sister was 6 years younger than me, so we were in the same school system all the time, and we used to protect each other, however we had to and things. And you don't, what I'm looking at now, and I see schools all the time. I've been in schools all the time. I mean, there's only one school that I went into that every single kid that came out of that school, and that I went in maybe an hour or so to do a talk just before the end of the school day. Every single person that saw me standing by the office called me sir. I was like, I said, guys, I'm Bob. They said, yes, sir. That was that school. I don't know where they got these kids from, but I'm telling you. And I mean, it's something it all starts look, it starts with number one, love. Kids need love. They were made because of love. And I don't care how you want to say whether you could say you had too much gin in you or something. I don't care. But, it's like they were still made of love. Love should follow them from the time that egg and sperm hit each other till the time they die. And if more people could do that, we'd have a different world. I'm not saying going back where I came from. I mean, it wasn't that easy. But, it's like it could be easy if we just listen to our hearts and what goes on, inside us instead of what goes on around us. So what do you say to that?
I wish it was so, Bob. I really do.
You and I both, believe me.
I mean, when you got a 6-year-old shooting your teacher, the world's in chaos.
And I still didn't hear anything. I've been watching that story in it, but it really doesn't. I mean, usually they tell you like a kid did it because, but there's so many. I mean, for anybody that's listened to this, and that don't get mad at me for saying this, but it's true. There are too many kids running the streets without a parent figure, either one or the other. The way things are going, I could say government, I can say politics, I can say Democrats, I can say Republic, I can say everything. But that's not what I mean. What I mean is this society is tearing apart the family knit group of people, like kid, parent, mother, father. There's a dozen different things in it that I could discuss, and I'm going to do that on my show. Really, I mean, it's the only reason why I'm kind of fluid with what I'm saying, because I already know what I'm going to say on the other show. But when you put together what's going around us right now, what's not going on around us right now, money, and then on top of that, you have these damn cell phones. For instance, and I'll tell you something that just happened 5 hours ago. Yeah, 5 hours ago. I saw a kid that was walking, maybe, sorry, I'm not home. This kid that was walking across the street, and that maybe she was like, I don't know, maybe between 10 and 15, something like that, looking at her phone. And this car's going back and forth. This is a green light. I almost had a heart attack. I was sitting at the red light, and I'm watching this girl walk across the street. And these cars are just, you think they'd slow up a little bit? No, they just kept going. If she went just 2, maybe 3 steps faster, she would have gotten nailed by a truck. But she was she was typing away on the phone. So okay, so if your life and your more or less, how would you say it? I wouldn't say spirit. I would say your soul, and that is wrapped around this phone. It's the number one thing in your life. You get all your stuff and your communication and news and everything else that from a phone. If that's where life has gone, the only way to go back to the relatively natural way life should be is turn off the phone. Now, when cell phones first came out, I did work for a very big communication company, and I was a senior rep with the company. And that was the time that cell phones actually came out. But actually, cell phones started in 1963, but nobody knows that. We're talking about the 1980s beginning, when Verizon first came out with, hey, you can make a phone call from your hand, big deal, So I was like, we had a cell phone because at the time we had beepers. So if we were somewhere, if we were on a trip, if we were in another state or whatever, they would, beep us on the beeper, and they'd tell us to call the, head office, or call this one or call that one, or this one has a question, whatever it happened to be. And God forbid you were driving down a highway, you had to pull over and find a payphone to make a phone call. Usually I was in the far left-hand lane, stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and they're calling me on the thing. Why don't you call us? Why don't you call us? And I'm like, it's like, hey. And now you can't even find a phone, a coin phone anywhere. They don't have them anymore. They tore them all out. So you're screwed. But I mean, basically, communication was for communication. That's it. End of story. Today, it's everything. This TikTok has kids going out of their minds. Facebook isn't any better. WhatsApp up and a whole bunch of other things that are on there are just as crazy. And it's taking families, the way we live, We eat, sleep, and drink. Religion and all the other things that we do in our regular lives, and it's just tearing it apart.
Yeah, it's destroying the family unit. I mean, I saw a family or some restaurant, and the mom and dad and the kid, they were all on their phones, all of them.
Yep.
So
I think I told you the story about Thanksgiving. One time, I had I was had the station over in South Carolina, in Charleston. Now, Charleston is a very big tourist kind of place, but there's a lot of very good. I mean, Southern, Colorado, but they're all families. They're very tight, very Southern. And this whole family, we went out for Thanksgiving. I figured, why cook? We can go out to this restaurant and hey, get a nice, turkey dinner. So we go out. We're sitting right across from this table. It's huge. It's like 14 people sitting there, doing their thing. I thought I was going to get killed for this, though. I'm serious. Because got me something fierce, especially on Thanksgiving. I mean, a holiday like that to me, anyway, is very, very important. So anyway, everybody in the place is doing exactly what you said. Everybody's texting and they're doing things back and forth and everything else. And the lady at one side of the table turns around. She goes, well, could you pass me the butter? There was a little dish with those little pieces of butter on the thing. So I turned around to the woman. I said, they're not listening to you. Text them. That was it. They all looked up and everything else. I said, look, this is Thanksgiving. When do you take the cell phones, put them in your pockets, and leave them there? Talk to each other. This is a family affair. And the mother, to the older woman that was there, I guess she was the grandmother or whatever, she turns around. She says, all right, put them away. You heard them. No wonder I didn't get in trouble for that one. And my guy's back at my table, and they turn around and say, you are out of your freaking mind. And I said, well, sorry. But, it worked. But this is what goes on. And it's in many, many ways. I mean, we don't want to think about how many times now would you ever think about loving something? It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe what you're doing or walking around or your dog or your car or whatever. You don't do that anymore. Why?
changing world.
Yeah, but
Not for the better.
Can it be repaired? That's where you come in.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, for that to truly happen, we will all have to work together. And that would be a very big undertaking to get that many people to do and to come together and enact change that can help the universe. But it starts with one person, and then it goes to 2 people, and then it goes to 4 people. So it can multiply and it can happen, but only if we all work together.
You know what I think we're going to do in that on the next show, Ned? You know what we'll do? We'll take this and we'll take out the address and we'll give everybody the address and tell them, listen, if you got the guts to say something or to tell us what could make your life better or our life better or the world life better, get on the show. Here's the link.
Yeah, we could have a show just for that alone.
Yeah, but I'm saying they can all come in and pass this video around, or I'll give you the link too for the audio, and they can play it in their cell phone while they're driving on their radio. They can listen to the show. They don't have to watch it.
That's true. Ears only.
There you go.
And that's what I do with one of my podcasts. The other podcast is basically voice only. It's not like Skype or Zoom. It's just voice only. And I do my lessons via that anchor, like Kellie J. Wright used to do all the time.
There you go. Now, when we're talking about just like the general surgeon said, Surgeon General, should I say? There are so many things that are connected to bullying. Like, for instance, people commit suicide. People get depressed. People run away. They were bullied, and their parents said, "Oh, this and that and the other thing." The parents, instead of backing up the kid, they back up the bullier. Maybe the bullier said something that was good. Who knows? Maybe work with the kid, you know? No, that's not happening anymore. So these are the things that we have to work on.
Yeah, it's a really sad reality, and I'm actually a victim of that reality myself. I mean,
everybody at one time or another during their whole life were more or less, this is part of us. It's in our genes. You know what I mean? Everybody's been bullied at one point or another.
well, it depends on the extent of the bullying. See, a lot of people are able to, if they just get some mild bullying here and there, and it ends, well, they're able to shrug that off their shoulders and go on with life. But the bullying I experienced was recurring for like 5 years straight.
Ouch.
And almost every day. And people don't realize the extent of what bullying can really do to some person, until that person doesn't become that person that should have been in the first place. So let me start by talking about death, bullying, and grief, and why these are interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the death I'm talking about is not the death of the human organism, but it's loss. What do people lose that is similar to a form of death? And you can talk about divorce and loss of friends, loss of a job that you had for like 30 years, and all of a sudden you get laid off. I mean, those types of loss. And in those losses, everybody suffers grief. There is grief involved in every type of loss. But let me get to what happened to me. Okay, there are some negative things that can happen that can drastically change the fabric of your life. And bullying changed my life. Bullying basically killed the person that I was meant to be all those years ago. And that person was forever gone. And I didn't realize how much damage the bullying actually caused to me until I actually wrote my third book, and that's Life Before My Transformational Journeys. And I couldn't understand why the Spirit wanted me to write that book, but now I do. And because of the bullying that I suffered, I was a damaged adult. I never launched as an adult. And not until my transformational journey in 2019. And the things I suffered was, as I said, depression. I tried to commit suicide once later in my life. I ended up with personality disorders, all related to the bullying. And you don't realize how damaged it is until I tried to commit suicide, and then I had an evaluation by a military psychiatrist. And I'll read that to you. So I'm trying to be transparent here. Okay, what he said in my assessment is that I had a chronic personality disorder with maladaptive behavior patterns that reflected self-defeating, passive-aggressive, dependency, and self-destructive traits. And that really is a combo of multiple personality disorders. And I suffered with those. And my whole life was negative. And in a way, I kind of stole the lives of my family. And that really kind of makes me sad because that's happened. You know, so the person I was meant to be never exists. So I have no idea what that person would have been.
You never transmitted who you really were.
Yeah, because I lost that. And bullying killed that person off. That person never developed. And you can't go back and get that person, because once you change the timeline, everything before that is gone. So in a way, that life is gone. Now the life I have now is different, but it's not the life that I would have been. So I could have been an Albert Einstein, I could have been this, I could have been that. So I have no clue, because that life was killed off. And people don't realize how pervasive bullying can actually affect you. And that's how I was affected. And it affected me for my entire life until my transformational journeys. And I was able to overcome all these obstacles through Kellie J. Wright. And now I got the 3 books. But I'm actually going to be writing another book called My N90-Day Transformation and Innate Journeys Revisited. And that'll come out sometime in the future. In the meantime, I got a book that's ready to be published called Pathways to Happiness. And then I'm working on one called Meaningful Thoughts.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then the last one, it's going to be called Positively Ever After. But the Spirit keeps throwing me different books to put in the middle of all these things. I only have one more book left. Now I have three plus one to write now. But let's kind of talk about grieving. You know, a lot of professionals and writers and stuff, they try and put grieving in a box. But you can't put grief in a box. Everybody's grief is different from everyone else. No matter what an expert says, well, this is what grief is, this is how you handle it, this is what happens. But that's not the case. And that's the reality of the situation. There are several stages in grieving, they put in stages. So like stage one is basically, you have shock. You're shocked because you suddenly have a loss there. But as you go on, you get denial. Denial is supposed to be the second stage. And in that denial, to me, it's actually relative to the shock because you're still in shock. Of course, you're going to deny everything. And then you get mad at God, you get mad at people around you, you get mad at the world. And that's how they put you in that box. But in my case, when my wife died, it was a nightmare because on my way to the hospital, because the doctor wanted to see her because she gained a bunch of water weight overnight. And on the way to the hospital, she died in the car. And
Ouch, I'm sorry about that.
yeah, and I had survivor's guilt for the longest time for most of my life, from the 1998 until 2019. And my children and her parents blame me for her death.
That's bullying. No.
I know, but it didn't cause her death. And the reason they blame me, Bob, is that because she had to have heart surgery. And if she didn't get it done, she would have died several months later. So I encouraged her to get the surgery done so she can, survive. But unfortunately, because of the situation, a week later, she died after surgery. And then hence I get blamed for her death. So that's what I have to contend with.
So many people too, and they kind of there was somebody in that about what's his where I work, and they say all the time, you're getting older, I said, so you're gonna die. I said, I'm obviously you're gonna die too. It's like it's inevitable. We're all born to die. When is the question?
Right.
That's a big, big, big question. When are you going to die? Are you going to live a long life? Are you going to experience things that you can teach others to avoid or to be part of? It all depends upon what part of that life you follow or where your path is, or if your path touched those things in your life. And it's it's amazing because some of us, like as I said, my sister's 6 years younger than me. And she says all the time, she says, you can't leave. I said, why? She said, well, you're going to have to take care of me someday. No, she's married. So, I mean, it's like, I said to her, well, we'll get a place together. It'd be like the old times. I'll buy her a Barbie doll, and she can go in the corner.
Have a barbecue.
Yeah. So, I mean, things are crazy, but this is life. This is something we have to accept. We're all going to go one time or another. I've gone once already, but somebody sent me back.
Well,
The person I met sent me back.
Well, I really think that we actually live multiple lives. I don't think just live one life, because how can we learn everything that God wants us to learn in one lifetime?
Never.
We can't. So we have multiple lives. And from what I understand, I had 186 different lives, which means I wasn't doing something right somewhere along the line to live that many times.
Mm, there was one time, and I took this. I guess it's more or less of a hypnotizing yourself kind
Uh,
of like to bring you back
yeah,
live. I
regression.
I had over 100.
Yeah, there you go. See,
I mean, so that's being around for a long time. But I mean, how far back is 100? Think about you wouldn't want to add up some numbers. Woo, baby, that's unbelievable. But we're all here, and when we do go, we go to more or less like a counselor. And that it's a guardian angel, and that takes you on a little journey, to yourself. This is what you did. This is what you did in this life.
now they had room of souls. Yeah.
They tell you what you did. Now, when you get to that point, you get a choice. You can either stay where you are or go back. Now, it's a soul now. So you can go back. You go back, you're born again.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, this is what you want to do. Or maybe just in some cases, and this is what I heard from somebody else that had the same experience. Sometimes there's something you you've been striving to find. Your journey had an end somewhere. You were supposed to do something, but it wasn't done. Your life cycle wasn't completed. So if you do go back, are you going to do it this time? Who knows? Is it going to take another lifetime to find that? Who knows?
Well, I guess I didn't find it because.
I'm serious. I mean, that's exactly the way our life works. And to tell you the truth, I mean, it's like when you're looking at all the things that you did, whether they be good, bad, or indifferent, it's a learning. Everything that we do, everything our soul does, is a learning curve.
Hmm.
It's always learning.
Oh yeah, of
It has
course.
all that. Can you imagine if you had just one little like you can go back a couple of lifetimes. You can go back and that under hypnotism, but it's not like where you actually start. Where did your soul start? That's one of the questions that I have all the time. Where did I start? I was a soul, but where did I come from? And this is a big universe. Nobody's going to tell me that we're the only ones, we're the only guys here. We're not. There's no two ways about it. I've been to other places. There is no way somebody's going to turn around and say, well, the only place that have humans is Earth. Well, who says that maybe Mars don't have Martians, real Martians, like somebody that doesn't look like us but kind of like acts like us, sort of. I mean, everything is different. Every planet's different. Every planet's inhabitants are different in a way. That's where, when we're talking about, I'm going to go back to this. When you go back to bullying, in a way, that's where you're taking this human soul and changing it. And that's for this lifetime, you're changing it. So now you got to go do it again in another lifetime. I just wish we could remember from one to another lifetime, what we did last time. That'd be cool.
That would be nice, but then again, you may not want to either because you might had a horrible
Could you,
death.
yeah, but could you imagine? All right, could you imagine correcting, making sure that you didn't do what you did last time, or making sure that you did what you should have done last time?
Well,
That'd be kind of cool.
yeah, that would be nice to go back and say, okay, here's what you go to fix. But we don't get that chance. We have to fix what we can in each life and then end it with there. So let's get back to the grieving here. So then the fourth step is you try to bargain. You try to bargain with yourself. You try to bargain with God to help you get over this sadness that you're under, right? And it's very depressing when you lose a loved one, especially unexpectedly, like I did. And the reality of it is each human occupies a space. They're like right here with you. That's a space they're occupying. And when they're gone, that space remains empty. And you're always reminded of the empty space. And that's the hard part of the grieving process because you truly never get over grieving. It's a forever process. You'll grieve to the end of your days, basically. You may be able to cope with it better than you were used to, but you're still grieving. In fact, I still grieve occasionally. And I still think about my wife and stuff. And that's been 25 years.
You know, it's plenty of us that feel the same way. And my dad, I used to go up and have coffee with him at 6 o'clock in the morning before he was a truck driver. Before he went to work, I used to have a little cup of coffee with him. Like he would make me a little cup in the morning. To this day, now that's what, 60, 65 years ago?
Yeah.
66, 67 years ago. Even at that many years ago, I can literally see the kitchen table and the cup
Yeah.
and my father in his uniform. This is the things like you're talking about. Everybody has this, I think. The thing is to be able to master being or using it for you instead of against you. If you understand what I mean by, like you're saying, like have a grievance because someone is missing. Something is missing out of your life.
Right.
I mean, I had him about a dog. I mean, and it wasn't even a human. It was somebody that was very, 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 very close to me.
Yeah, near and dear, right? You still grieve. I mean, you grieve over divorces, you loss of pets, loss of a job, loss of this or loss of that. You grieve because it's part of you that's no longer there.
But you see, you just said a very important word, loss. Somewhere in your life, there was a loss. And the loss causes the grievance. You know, you're sorry for yourself. That's what it comes out to.
Yeah, it's grieving is not easy, and these experts say, well, you can grieve this long, but as far as it's going to go, but they're wrong. They don't understand grieving. You can't put grief in a box. That's why I say you can't put grief in a box, because we all have our way of grieving things. And loss, well, that's the key thing right there, like you said. Loss is the key to everything in our lives.
Yeah, it's our whole life. That's just the way we live. But as I said, the other side of it is I'm here. I've had kids, raised kids. You know, I was a musician for 39 years. I mean, I was on stages in unbelievable places all over the world. I had houses and things. And, you know, out of all of that, there was ups and there were downs. There were 2 divorces during all that time. And, you know, things like that are the things that really, really, I'm telling you, blows you. Forget about it. I mean, during that time, and then you want to talk about depression. Ooh.
Yeah. So why did you hang up your singing career anyway?
Well, you get to an age now where you just, you put your hands up in the air and go, forget it. It got the actual business got too political. And all 4 of us were very, very smart kids. We all graduated big colleges, and I had degrees in music and everything. And I could do an orchestra. I could write for an orchestra. So, I mean, it wasn't like I was a dummy for doing this. But you get to a certain point now when people start going with all this, well, you know, you got to do this kind of music because this is what they're listening to and everything else. I said, wait a minute, whoa, 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 whoa. This is what we write. This is what we do. This is what we play. And if you don't like it, we'll find another record company. And it just went on and on and on. Sooner enough, we just ran out of record companies. They're all built on the dollar, not the product. Not the product. The product is they make a product that makes them $1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you get these singers and everything. I mean, let's face it. I any place I sang in that, I did a really, really nice job, and people loved it. It was because when I was 2 years old, my mother was a singer. So I didn't stripe anything off the ground. You know what I mean? She taught me.
Got in your genes.
But as that is what it was, being a musician, my bass player and everybody else that are all scattered all over the United States, they all listen to me on the shows because they they play maybe their little weekend band in it or whatever else they did, so they don't tour anymore. One guy, he probably does tour, biggest bands in the world. But I went from one thing into the radio business. So about 14 years ago, and then I turned around and I said, no, 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 I can't. Forget it. I can still play, and right behind me, behind this wall that's behind me, there's keyboards, there's guitars, there's an amplifier bigger than you. I mean, it's one of those things. That stuff is all there. So I mean, this is a recording studio, so I can do my own recordings right here. And I'm not going to sell them to a record company. But you see these things now. They're going after all these ticket companies, Ticketmaster and everything else. And that because of the plain fact is they it's a monopoly, and they've totally taken over the business. I mean, let's face it. If I'm going to go to see somebody and I saw the best, in fact, I met him in person too, Paige from Zeppelin. I mean, no, it's like, hi, how you doing? My name is, yeah. I mean, it was like one of these kind of things because we had promoters and we got in with all the big guys. But the thing was to get a ticket to go to one of his shows or Zeppelin shows in Madison Square Garden was $12. Now, what is a ticket today? If you want to get anywhere, if you want to sit near the stage, it's $2,000.
Oh, it's way up there.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, see what I mean about the way life was and the way life is? They're all based on dollar.
Yeah. And that's a sad thing for all these performers and singers and things. They don't make as much money as they used to. Not like you think they would. It's because their label gets all the money, the tickets gets all the money. They have to pay their employees. They get up. So they don't have a whole lot left over. So it's kind of hard to really find millionaire musicians unless they're doing their own thing. And that's one good thing I respect about Taylor Swift, that she does her own thing now and produced her own albums and stuff.
Yeah, but what did she have to do to get to that point?
She had to face the music with all the nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, to do it right, exactly. And I mean, we were just too smart to listen to these guys. I mean, it was ridiculous.
And basically, this guy named Scooter Braun, I believe his name was, basically held her hostage, basically, with her all her music. So she went on her own and started over again.
You see, now there's a grievance.
Yes, yeah.
There's one right there. What happened to what we used to do a long time ago? Look at the everything from Chicago and the Motor City and everything. All the musicians and singers and everything else that came out of there. I mean, seriously, they were the best. They were the best. And now, you can take some kid off the street, teach him how to sing, tell him to do this, get him in a recording studio, and let me tell you something. I can make me sound like Sinatra tomorrow. And it's like, and then they market it, and they use social media and everything else, and they get a bunch of people to write. They give them $500 to say this about this guy, 100,000 times this week.
Yeah, that's the reality of the music business, and same thing with Hollywood. It's all going downhill. Some of these movie stars don't get paid as much because movies aren't worth that much these days.
No.
And their profitability is way down, especially in the movie theaters.
And look at the movies. The movies are cheaper. I'm serious. They're
terrible. Some of these movies are like downright just terrible.
I know. It's unbelievable.
And I don't understand how they get funds to make some of these movies, like some of these B-rated movies. That's the worst movie I've ever seen. How do you get funded? I could do that same acting. How come I'm not getting funded? So it's pretty bad.
True. And then they get a bunch of extras, and they give them $25 an hour.
I don't even get that much, really.
They do. I know somebody that does it in England. He does. And all they have to do is walk up and down the street.
Yeah, and you're done in 5 minutes, an hour, whatever you're done, or 2 hours maybe.
Yep.
and then you're out, and then there you go.
Well, all right, now we go through the grievance part of it, and you know what? I got to say this too, if there's anybody else out there that wants to call or write, now here's something you can do. Let me just get into this. I don't want to hit the wrong button, otherwise I'll kick myself. Let me see. You can write to WKIT. Let me see. DB. Yeah, DB. World Radio. That's what it is. WKIT DB World Radio at hotmail.com. That's a special email that was it's just open just for the stuff that comes through WKIT. And the DE, we're in a whole nother, I mean, the bands the radio stations that are around for a long, long time ago, you got to be around for like over 10 years. Easy. You can actually get one of these licenses. The DB is digital broadcasting. So out of everybody else, you see WW whatever, and then you see FM, and then you see AM, and sometimes you see SSB FM, or sideband FM. Well, now they opened up a whole nother thing, and it's now DB. So digital broadcasting. I'm now broadcasting this show over 2 servers, one's in Europe and one's in Canada. So we're being transmitted. Anybody that wants to pick it up, you go to TuneIn or Streama and put in Pyramid One Radio, and whoops, there you go. And you can be anywhere in any country in the entire world and listen to us. So it's a whole nother kind of license.
Yeah, it's really expanding a lot out there. So
oh yeah.
Here you're in Australia, and we say, no worries, Mike.
Oh, that's where we have a studio there.
I know. I haven't heard from John for like forever. How's he doing?
I don't know. It was, first of all, he was freezing to death, and then they didn't have fuel. And then, now it's summer down there. So knowing him, he's probably out swimming somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But, if everybody was interested in tuning in to what we're talking about, you can call it in. We're here right now. If you want to make a phone call, we're here for you.
Number 609-663-0153. Or, here's one for you. Or you can text me direct. Now here's your text number. 863-222-4199. So you can text me at that number. That's WKIT's text number.
And if anybody wants to talk outside the show, you can always find me on Facebook under J.K. Miliken. And I'm available if you're interested.
So what else are we going to talk about?
Well, that's basically all I was going to cover today, but you can see how death or loss and bullying and grief can be connected with one another, because it all affects each other. And I went through the mill with all this stuff, through a suicide attempt and depression. So I fell into everything that Surgeon General radio announcement talked about.
Yeah, he was definitely right on.
And my life was not easy because of it. I was a damaged adult, basically. But now my life has changed because of Kellie J. Wright and the Transformational Journeys and continuing writing my books. And each thing I write is actually helping me heal more and more each day. And I've actually got 4 books pending right now that I'm working on.
Oh, there you go. Well, when you got the boots, the books all done and everything, and that will promote them.
Yeah. So the publisher that I had or was using was the same one that Kellie J. Wright was using, but for some reason, I they reorganized or something, and then they kind of vanished. So I have no idea if they're still in business or not. So I'm waiting.
Good grief.
So I don't know what happened to them. They said they were reorganizing, and all of a sudden they're just going to send something to my friend, and I can publish the book through that route, because for some reason PayPal booted me off. And maybe they didn't like my book content. That's the only reason I think they booted me off of PayPal.
I don't know. PayPal is bumping a lot of people off.
And I only used them 3 times for my books. So that's really kind of wild. So I have no idea what I did to get bumped off. But apparently I think it's my content. They don't like contents of spirituality, I guess.
I don't know. Let me see what I got in that over here, and I'll send you something. There are other ways. It don't have to be PayPal.
No, I know. Well, I know that's just one way, but they also offered not PayPal, but you can pay with a credit card, but it's still bumped off for that even too, because since it's only credit cards, and nope, you're blocked. So I don't know what the situation is.
Political.
I'm looking at other places to do the same thing, but the cost would be like double from what I'm paying now.
Wow.
And if you have somebody, I publish this book who can set my book up, the internal part of the book, and then the cover, I would appreciate it if you know someone who does that.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll ask around.
Okay.
And see what's cooking.
So it's basically, that's all I was covering about how bullying can really devastate somebody's life. And people don't understand that. People kind of shuffle around and say, well, this is bullying, this is normal, but it's not normal. It's normal to get bullied occasionally, you just shrug it off and that's it. But if you get bullied as much as I was as a child, it doesn't go away so easily.
You know what? Let me just throw this out there, because this is something that it's a big thing going on. The kids are back in school now, and I mean I've heard it, from other people, other parents, and that I talk to in the morning, and they, sometimes in the evening. It's not. Let's put it this way: it's only sporadically wrong in some areas, depending upon the area. So, I mean, that's another thing too in it. But kids now, they're like, they were home schooled for a long time. They were stuck in houses because of COVID for 2 years, and now we have to reform the child that was in the regimen, more or less, of going to school and learning in school. And now he doesn't like school because it doesn't teach like his mother did, or not the way he watched the teacher on TV, or the computer, or whatever. And so, I mean, things are getting kind of out of control in a way.
Yeah, it's going downhill because of COVID. And it's going to take years to rebuild the educational system the way it should be built.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, we will get out of here.
All right. Well, this basically.
Meanwhile, we're gonna give anybody watching Facebook or any of those things, and watch for a date, and we'll give you another date, and we will have everybody come back in, and hopefully by that time, everybody be called up on the phone or in the screen here.
I think it's going to probably be around February 8th or 9th or something like that, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, let me see what I got.
Thursday is on Monday, so the first is on a Tuesday, which, it'll be the 8th of February. And
we're on the 24th. That one. It's the 7th.
Oh, it's the 7th? On a Tuesday?
Hmm? The 8th is a Wednesday.
Weird.
Now I can see it now. There's a million people out there going,
no. I was short a day for January. Never mind. You're right. It is the 7th. I was thinking 30 days. That's 31 days this month. Oh, well.
We are out of here. Hey, listen, you give your telephone number, by the way.
Oh, if anybody wants to contact me, you can call me at 480-228-9714. but leave a message because I do not answer the phone to unknown phone callers. So leave a message and I will call you back.
How about a site? Any kind of a site or anything else they can get you at?
Right. Okay. And or you can contact me at jkmiliken, that's with one L, at outlook.com if you have questions or you need help with something. I'm always available to you, or you can find me on Facebook under JK Miliken.
Cool. And meanwhile, we are out of here. And it's been an honor having you on the show.
All right, Bob. You take care of yourself.
Ah, yes. You're listening to WKIT, Pyramid One World Radio. Oh, yeah, you're listening to